Hello again, and thanks for checking in to our second episode of the Redbird Rundown, our new weekly look at the Illinois State men's basketball team. I'm Assistant Sports Editor Joe Deacon as your host, and with me again is beat reporter Jim Benson. Hello, Jim.
Hey, Joe, how you doing?
Pretty good. Yourself?
Not too bad. One game down in the books and about 35 more to go.
Yeah, it's a long road. So, Redbirds did get the regular season started Sunday with a 60-55 loss at home to Utah State. ISU's defense forced the Aggies to miss 13 straight shots in the first half. The second half was a totally different story. Jim, what went wrong?
Well, I think it was a combination of two things, really. ISU started missing some shots, and I think what happened on offense carried over into defense. And then they kind of lost a little bit of defensive intensity and just kind of snowballed from there. They actually came back and got the lead in the second half, and then they were outscored, I think it was 10-2 down the stretch. So just a combination of things. Sometimes, especially when you have younger guys and a newer team, that if the shots aren't falling, they lose the defensive intensity where you just need to always kind of keep it up on a defensive end. And I think they'll learn that. I know a lot of fans are probably panicking after the first loss. It's one game. Relax a little bit. Let's see where they're at after this weekend.
Indeed. In spite of the defensive success in that first half, though, at the break, it was only a 7-point lead, and that kind of left the door open for Utah State. Why are the Redbirds unable to keep Utah State out of striking distance, and was it just that the Aggies have already had some comeback experience?
Yeah, their first game they were down 18 points at halftime and they came back. That was one thing. ISU got outscored, I think it was 7-2 in the last 2 minutes of the first half. Mm-hmm. And there's such a psychological difference between being down double digits at halftime and being down single digits. Now, they were just 3 possessions down, really. And I think that end of that first half really gave Utah State a lot of life. ISU had dominated for 18 minutes of that game, first half, and then all of a sudden Utah State comes back. Now they got life, and Utah State came out and just kind of really hit them hard in the start of the second half, and now it's an even game, really, the rest of the way.
Yeah, in some ways it kind of reminded me of the exhibition game against Lewis. I mean, you look at some of the stats from that game against the Flyers. The Flyers were terrible at the free throw line. ISU had a major rebounding advantage, and yet it was still only a 9-point victory. I mean, they're not. It seems like they can't really outdistance these other opponents.
Yeah, well, in this game, you talk about free throws with Lewis. Well, ISU missed 11 of 20 free throws in this game. If you just make half of those, that's 5 points. It's a 5-point game. And then so many shots ISU, they got the ball inside, quite a bit, on the dribble drive to the rim, and they missed quite a few layups. Get 2 or 3 of those. But it's funny, I've been watching a lot of basketball about the last week on TV, and you see a lot of teams early in the season, they just miss those drives to the lane. I don't know if it's just that they're not quite ready for the games yet. More so as the season goes on, I think players finish those at the rim, especially.
Yeah, you think it's early season like tentativeness a little bit?
Yeah, just kind of rust, maybe. I mean, these are their first games here and all that. Obviously, they've been practicing a while, but games are so different than practices. You're playing sometimes in front of, 5,000 people like ISU was. Some of these guys, they haven't played in front of a crowd since the Valley tournament, and some of the guys, the newer guys, they've never played in front of a crowd that they saw the other day. So it's a little bit of nerves.
Mm-hmm. Another thing that I kind of saw is, you mentioned how they did make a run there in the second half to retake the lead, but it seemed like sometimes they get on a fast break or a drive, and some of the players would try and do too much themselves, I thought. Did you see that, and what do they need to do to kind of stop that?
Yeah, I saw that a little bit, and I just think it just takes time to settle in. A couple of the guys had to sit out last year, so they haven't really played a game in, at least a year, a competitive game. I think it just takes a little time for everybody to find their niche and their roles. It happened last year with this team. I mean, the first couple of games, they didn't play very well at all. Then all of a sudden, things just kind of click in after a while. So it's not time to panic yet by any means.
Yeah, taking a look at a couple of the numbers from the game, you get 17 points from Deshaun Knight and Devon Akung-Purcell. He had a nice game in the exhibition, and now he comes off the bench with a double-double in this game. He's actually showing some good signs.
Yeah, he's going to be a real impact player for them this year. He can take the ball inside and score. He can shoot the three-point. He didn't shoot the three-pointer very well, but he had a couple of those that were wide open looks that they just didn't go. But he's definitely going to be a high-impact guy for the Redbirds this year.
Yeah, well, the Redbirds are going to get a chance to put that first loss behind them. As you said, it's a long season. This week, they're heading to the warmer climate. Now they're going to the Virgin Islands for the Paradise Jam. They open play in that tournament on Friday against Weber State in St. Thomas. What should we expect to see from the Wildcats?
Well, they're a very athletic team. They went to the NCAA tournament last year. They lost a lot of the guys from that team. I think the conference MVP is gone from that team. but they have a couple of the guys back who played major roles on that team. Very athletic team. And it was kind of funny, though. They played Utah State also.
Right.
They were the team that led Utah State by 18 at half, and then they just completely fell apart in the second half. And they played another game since then. They played an NAIA team called Presentation. I'm not sure where that school is from. They were down at halftime. So they're kind of like the Redbirds a little bit. They're kind of struggling, I'm not struggling, but just, everybody's got to just kind of find their roles and all that. But it's going to be a very competitive game. I would think it's going to be a game that, again, goes down to the wire.
Mm-hmm. And that's the first of 3 games that ISU is going to play in St. Thomas. The second game's either going to be against LSU or Old Dominion, on either Saturday or Sunday. And then the third game will be against one of the teams on the other side of the bracket, and that's Clemson, Gardner-Webb, Seton Hall, and Nevada. So what are ISU's realistic prospects for this week?
I think, they want to win every game, of course. But I think if they come back from this trip 2-1, I think that'll be a good tournament. Old Dominion and LSU, I got a chance to see both of those teams on TV here in the last week. They're both LSU is super athletic. I mean, they are so athletic. They remind me kind of a Flying Illini a little bit. I covered them back in 1989, but they're just long, athletic. They're not as skilled, though. They're not as skilled. I saw them beat Texas Tech in overtime. Texas Tech's not real good. ISU could hang with them. Old Dominion's a very good team too. They really are a very good team. So either one, whoever ISU is going to play, they're gonna have to really play well that second game to win that game. And the rest of the tournament, I know Seton Hall has a great freshman class, so I would assume Seton Hall or Clemson will kind of advance out of the winner's bracket. And that Clemson's always a pretty solid program.
Yeah, it's always hard to tell exactly how the rest of the tournament's going to break down.
Exactly.
So, all right, well, that's going to do it for this week's show. Pick up a daily copy of the Panagraph or check back here on panagraph.com for complete coverage of the Redbirds. Also, for additional ISU coverage, you can always follow Jim on Twitter. What's your handle again there, Jim?
Capital P, small g, underscore, capital BENSON.
All right, well, we'll be back next week with to recap ISU's performance in the Paradise Jam. We'll also look ahead to some home games against Youngstown State and Shaka Smart's nationally ranked VCU team.
That should be fun.
That should be indeed. Thanks for watching.